have you any question in your mind today that you would like to begin with? We can talk about anything that's interesting for you.
I think I have one.
Yes.
It's something I see a lot, and something I see in my friends and in people who I know. How many boys are seeking for something, but they're found by wrong people and fed the wrong idea of masculinity. How these boys are taught to be alone, to suppress all of their feelings, and to disrespect our other people. So it's a very new topic right now, and it has a big resurgence that you should be strong and you should be suppressing everything, and it's leaking out into other gender discussions.
Yeah, that's interesting actually, because I have noticed myself that maybe I am glad that women are getting their place. I'm not a mad feminist, but I know that women, many women in the past, they weren't able to develop their talents, they weren't able to express themselves, they were, in many cultures, they were not allowed to speak their mind or whatever. So I am happy that women are getting a role in society, that they're able to hold down jobs, or they're able to have big responsibilities like heads of nations or something, you know, as if they have the ability to do it. So I'm very happy that this happens. But I think there is a downside to that, and that is just the topic that you're mentioning, that men don't know anymore what their role is, because it was very clear-cut when I was a child. In many women, if they had family, they had to stay at home. There was no alternative. You weren't allowed to have a job and a family, more or less, you know, it didn't happen. So the men felt that they had a role. They were earning money, they were supporting the family, they were paying the bills. But now, it doesn't happen like this. And I remember even at one time in Ireland, where I come from, there was economic collapse, and the women were getting jobs and the men were not getting jobs. And some of the women went to work and the men stayed at home. And they were looking after the children, they were cooking, they were house mothers, as we called it, you know. So I think that men actually, I don't know now about your generation, but I think there was a time when men didn't know exactly what their role was. And I think one of the reasons why marriages are breaking up too is because there isn't a preparation for partnership, you know, in marriage, that both can help in the family, the men and the women. When I was growing up, the men did not help in the family because they came in tired from farming or jobs, and they weren't expected to do anything, you know. They weren't expected to help to clean up or mind the baby or bath the baby or something. They weren't expected to do that. They had their role and they knew what it was. But when women are working and both are working, then why wouldn't both of them share the household tasks or do the shopping or something like this? So I think there has to be some kind of education into this, you know. And I think families were also responsible, because mothers would spoil their sons, you know, and did not expect them to do, to clean up or put their clothes in the laundry basket or something, you know. Some mothers would do everything for their boys, and it didn't prepare people. But I think what you're mentioning now is, it's a deeper thing than this, because you mentioned boys, they don't know who they are, they don't know what their role is. Would you explore that yourself a bit more? What is it that the boys feel? You're talking about teenagers or older?
I'd say about teenagers. That's how some of my friends around me feel right now. They don't know what they want from life. They don't know how they are supposed to be.
Yeah.
So they find answers on the internet, and sometimes those answers are very toxic for my understanding. those people who tells them that, oh, you should be this strong man, you should be a lonely wolf, you should not get into marriage, you should not relate with a woman seriously.
Oh, imagine.
So people are avoiding that a lot, I think.
Yes.
That's a big problem for me as well.
Yeah, I had an experience a few summers ago. I was on a train, and with my sister we were going traveling on a train, and this young boy was sitting opposite us in the train. He was like maybe 17 or 18, maybe not a young boy, a young man, let's say. And he was looking out the window, and he was admiring everything, and he didn't have his mobile out, you know. And after a while I said to him, you're interested in, you find it nice outside or something? And he began to talk. And then he said, it's great to talk, you know, he said, because most people don't know how to talk now. And it was wonderful that you wanted to talk to me. He said, I love talking to people, but nobody wants to talk. And he said, you don't dare to begin a conversation because you might get some kind of rude look or something like this. But he was amazed. We talked all the way on the train journey for 2 hours or whatever. And he was so natural, he was so much himself. And he wasn't happy just to be talking on his mobile. He didn't want that, you know. He wanted to meet some real people and talk, really talk to people. And I think this, what you're mentioning, boys especially are shy to communicate, you know. Girls are maybe more chatty often, and maybe they find it easier to enter into conversation. But I think boys, teenagers especially, they find it very difficult. And myself, I have met one person recently who was thinking of, he has a job, an ordinary, has a good job, but he always wanted to be a teacher. And so he has taken up teaching 1 day a week. And his aim is not just to teach, but to be there, you know, to create an atmosphere in the classroom where boys or girls, but especially maybe boys, can speak to him, you know, that after a month or two, when they get to know him, he's married with family, so he understands, but it's like sometimes even in the family, the children can't speak to their parents, but they could speak to a teacher, for example, if the teacher was sympathetic and had time for them or something. But the biggest problem is to create an atmosphere where a young person feels that they can open up, you know, that they can speak, that they can communicate, and that they are listened to. This is a very big issue. It's a very serious thing. What do you think yourself? Some of these boys now, they feel they're looking at the wrong things, they're listening to the wrong advice, and what do you think they need? What would you suggest would be good?
I think they need somebody to listen to them.
Yes, yeah.
Somebody to talk to. For me, it was a huge driver of self-exploration, to be able to talk to somebody, to find somebody who would offer me slight guidance but wouldn't impose anything on me. Yes. I think that is a great value that you have offered me when I just met you. We used to go to the Udvi, to the lakes, and
yes.
just talk, and it opens up a path for me for thinking about what do I want in life, who I am, who do I want to relate with, especially as I was choosing a new environment for myself and building it. It was really great to have a person that I could come and speak to.
This amazes me because I remember you, of course, very, very well, and I remember our walks and everything, but I didn't realize that these conversations were so meaningful for you. Yeah. So it's very interesting for me, and I'm hearing from you that what you valued was that I had time for you, and that I let you speak and explore. As you said, you were wondering what you wanted from life, but to be able to say it out loud. And I think I have met some people, they are training as mentors, as they call it now. People who are interested, like more adults who are interested in young people. And they talk about this mentoring. And it's really like, it's being like it's like being a father or an uncle or a grandfather or somebody for young people. But the important thing is to have time, And I think that parents have a big responsibility to put away the phone. I heard about somebody recently, a mother that is breastfeeding her baby, and while the baby was breastfeeding, she'd be on the phone. And when the little baby got a bit bigger, if she wanted to breastfeed, she would go and get the phone and give it to her mother, as if to say, this is the time. Like this was her clue, that if she wanted her mother to breastfeed her, she would give her the phone, and the mother then would breastfeed her and use the phone. And I thought, and sometimes this makes me very sad, I see it on the street, that mothers or fathers, they go to collect a toddler from kindergarten, and the little one is chatting, dying to say what happened in school, and the parent is saying, but they're on the phone. And I think that young people, if they grow up in this kind of environment, they have nobody to listen to them, even when they're small. And I think parents have a huge responsibility to put away the phone when the child comes in from school or something, or to give priority if they can, even 5 minutes, to ask the little one, what happened today, and was your friend there today, It matters so much, and if we don't do it when the child is small, they definitely won't start when they're teenagers, So it's interesting for me that you highlight this, that what young people need is just somebody to listen, to have the time, the space, and this is what is missing, Many people don't have time. Families don't have time, like mothers are working, fathers are working, and when they come home they have so many things to do. They have to cook for tomorrow and get lunches ready and do the washing, and they don't have time, It's one of the big disadvantages, yeah.
We are basically getting shown that we are less important than everything else. I see that a lot right now, that children are addressing their mothers or fathers by name and mom, 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 just calling for their mother or father, and the mother or father have some more important things to do. And yes. I think as a kid that taught me that I am a burden. It's a burden to
yes.
listen to me, and
yes.
It is not as important to listen to the child
yes.
as it is to do something more urgent right now.
Yes.
And I see that now, that children reflect that pattern of their parents. So when mom is calling for a child, the child just ignores her because they see
yes.
that
I'm doing something important.
Yeah.
Actually, I know that. I know another family, and the father is addicted to television, or not television, but computer games and so on. And the mother, this mother was very good. She's always saying to the husband, please don't do it all the time, because you're teaching the children to do the same. And you're involving them. It's time to go to school, and you involve them in games yourself. And this woman, she was so tired one morning that she wanted the little boys to be ready for school, and the husband was playing games with them on the computer. And she said, boys, breakfast is ready. Boys, breakfast is ready. And the dad said, we just finished this game. Yeah, just one word, we just finished this. And she said, please, look at the time. We'll be late. And the dad said, just one minute, we want to finish this. Anyway, what did she do? She packed up all the breakfast things, put everything away in the fridge. She cleared the table totally and went off to her room. And then the next thing, there was a shout, Mom, where's breakfast? Oh, she said, I thought you weren't interested. I thought you didn't want breakfast. So then the dad was furiously trying to get something out of the fridge, but he was giving the bad example. He didn't listen, the parents did not agree. She wanted children to have a routine, and the morning before school is not the time to get involved in games. But the dad was giving a different message. And as you say, that was more important than listening to their mother, and being on time for school. So it really is connected from the very small childhood, isn't it? But it's very interesting what you say, that young people feel they're a burden, they're a nuisance, they're not so important. Isn't that awful?
I think it is. It's one of the biggest impacts that has impacted me, and it impacted a lot of my friends. We didn't used to talk about it, but now that we can find communities where we can be more open about that, about how we feel, and we can share it, even if we don't want to put ourselves and our vulnerability out there to other people. Still, there is always somebody who can share something and who you can relate to. So it's not a taboo topic anymore to say that.
Yeah, that's very interesting actually. That this taboo, people are afraid. They think I'm the only one that feels like that, and I think that's why it's good that we have groups also. Small groups, and people can talk to each other. But it's just touching me a lot that you say this. That people feel. You put you name something really very important. That the child can feel I'm not important. I don't count. Work is more important, or watching this movie is more important. And we used to have a joke, in Ireland, that there was no television when I was a child. It wasn't invented. And people had the tradition of visiting each other's houses and sitting around the fire and talking, and conversation was very important, And then television came in, and there were these soap operas, that were, everybody was watching. We only had television for 3 hours in the evening or something like this. And there were soap operas, and people were very, very interested in something. So then there was a sort of a joke that the neighbour called, and you would say, "Come in, sit down, shut up." Meant we were looking at this important soap opera, so you mustn't interrupt it, we can talk later or something. But it was a bit of a joke, but it was true too. Television was on all the time in the evening, so you couldn't visit neighbours at that time if you wanted to talk. You could only go around there if you wanted to watch the same program, but you couldn't go there to chat, And that was the beginning of it, really. And timetables began to be around the TV times. Everything had to slot into that. And now, of course, this is 60 years ago, so things have gone way, 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 way beyond that. But what you say is very true. And then that is one very important thing then. So young people don't feel so important for other people as we all need to be, actually. We all need to be valued. Yeah, valued. And I think we spoke about it the last conversation we had, that this, what's happening in this society is people's sense of value, people's sense of goodness, people's sense of being a person. The need for it is suppressed, and people pretend they don't feel it, but they do feel it. They do feel. Every individual feels they want to be loved, they want to be valued, they want to be known as they really are, and not just superficial. So what would you suggest? Like you said, it's good if you can make a few friends that you can talk to. And would you like, for example, when you choose another career, would you like to be some kind of listener? Would you like to be some kind of counselor or mentor? Or do you see a need for that?
Definitely. I think now that I will be changing a lot in my life and going into the new field, I will definitely actively seek mentorship from other people. And when I will be more established, I want to offer that to other people who are just newcomers into that. I will definitely plan to be a mentor in my future.
Yes.
So I can give the guidance that I needed to other people.
Yes, yeah. And even now, I think young people can help each other, or older people. I hear Pope Francis, for example, talk about grandparents. He thinks they're invaluable, grandparents. And because they have time. You know, parents usually, really, it's with all the best intention in the world, they don't have time. Somehow they don't really have time. They're trying to do jobs and home and maybe 2 jobs. But grandparents, that stress is gone, you know, so they can be there for people. They can be there for their grandchildren and for their grandchildren's children, friends, I mean. They can be available, you know, and there are people that are available. But even in between colleagues, I think, or between school friends, I heard a lovely story once about this mother, that she was waiting at the school gate for her daughter to come out, a little girl, and the daughter was late and late and late. Finally, the little girl came running, and the mother said, "Where were you?" And she said, "I was helping Katie to cry." I think it's a beautiful story. Like, somebody in her class was very sad about something, and she was only a little girl, but she helped her friend to cry. I think, like, it's what young people can do for each other. Give time, and, you know, even as same people of the same age or a tiny bit older, you know, we can be there for people or even like in families. Friends or close friends can also do this listening for each other. We don't have to be professionals, but I think there's a great need for more professionals in this field, more and more. It seems to be more and more a great need, that in spite of all the communication, in spite of all the mass media, still people love to talk to somebody face to face and feel the energy and feel the empathy. I don't know, can you feel it so much on the internet? Can you feel people's empathy? You know the word empathy?
Yeah, of course. I think if you really have a connection with person, you can feel it.
Yes.
We have a lot of texting habits that can reflect what person is feeling for you.
Yes.
And how they react on it. You can of course speak to them kind of face to face with your voice.
Yes. Yeah, I find that actually too myself. I do meet some people on Skype, you know, and once you know the person, I think if I've met somebody once or twice and you know the person personally, then I do find things like Skype or Zoom quite good, because you forget after a while that you are on Zoom, or because you know the person and you know their expressions and you can read their faces. Sometimes actually it's quite good, because you are close up and you can see the expression in the eyes, you can see the change of emotion on the face. It's very good. But I'd like to go back to the young men that you mentioned, the young boys, because it seems worse for them than for girls. Is that your experience, that boys are more lost?
I think they are, because girls have stronger community amongst each other, so we don't need to suppress as much our feelings and our needs and what we want. But boys are taught to be masculine and manly and always keep everything in themselves.
Yes.
Build a wall around themselves.
Yes. The walls, yeah. And I think even in long ago, like we say, boys don't cry, you know. But that is not right, really. Boys do cry or need to cry. And I think if there's an acceptance, and that's another side of feminism. I think that when we began to talk about feminism, we began also, like if you understand it properly, it's not just about women, it's about feminine, what we associate as feminine qualities, like caring or concern or compassion. Or men have these qualities too, very, very much. But it was not so much allowed or something that the men could express these feelings or be sad or cry or show their fear or something, because it was not allowed. And I can hear men saying this, even adult men, grown-up men, that they were not allowed to express. And I think this is also maybe, as you say, why boys feel it more, because they're not allowed to express emotion. They have to be tough, they have to be strong, they have to be like not allow themselves to cry, or it would be considered sissy or something. But I think that is one of the good things in the modern world, that men are allowed to have their feminine side. You know, in psychology that Jung, the psychologist, said that each of us has anima and animus. If you're a man, you have your anima, your feminine side, and if you're a woman, you have a masculine side, and that both are necessary for our development of our personality. But men very often had to suppress this feminine side, whereas women sometimes had to develop their masculine side because they had to take responsibilities, they had to maybe run business, or they had to take big decisions, and it required manly courage, So they often could develop their masculine side, but men were not allowed so much to develop the feminine side, So I don't know if that's a generalization or not, but I think
it's still very relevant to today's world.
Yeah.
Men are still quite disconnected from their feminine side, and it's still a big topic about how they should suppress their feelings and how their experiences are not to be shared with the world.
Yes.
I wanted to speak about one more thing.
Yes.
Coming back to family.
Yes.
How those familial bonds right now are not as strong.
Yes,
That
yes,
is
yes.
a big fear of mine.
Yes.
I see the statistics where 60% of marriages
Yes.
fall apart.
Yes.
So the kids now might not even have grandparents to speak of.
Yes, exactly. Yes, it's true. And the family breakdown, I don't know myself what is the cause of it, but I think one thing might be the lack of preparation, the lack of real preparation, realistic. And then I remember meeting men myself whose families had broken up, and they said their family had broken up, so they had no experience of how to be a dad, how even to be a good husband, because their fathers weren't around. And then when they started having their own families, they had no model. So this is one of the sad things, that generations pass on to the next generation. The lack, if they don't have it.
People do a lot of preparation right now, but it seems to me like it's not the right kind.
Yes.
You are trying on people, like you are trying on clothes to see if they would fit to you.
Yes.
So a lot of people have a lot of relationships, and I know that is how it has always been, but at least there was some model of family, something that you were taught. But now you just go through a lot of those people and you think that one of them will just click in without the work needed to be put in.
Yes. I did read somewhere that at one time we thought that what you needed for the good marriage was communication. But I remember reading one place that what is happening in marriage, but people are not prepared for it, is that we all come with baggage. We all come, as you say, if I feel unloved, not accepted, not worth it, not having any value, and I come into a marriage with these feelings, eventually they're going to come out, and the other person comes with their feelings, and then we're not ready to go through it together, to work through this thing. So I think what we mentioned in the last conversation is about knowing oneself is very, very important, or at least beginning to know oneself, because in the relationships we can project onto the other person what we feel about ourselves, but it's not true. It's my feeling and not the other person's feeling, and there's blame. So it's very, very deep, actually. This growth in self-awareness is so important, and we have to be able to manage it in communities, in teams, in marriages. Somehow the self-awareness and self-growth and getting self-acceptance is very important in life. Yeah, very, very important. But these young men, I have read somewhere too that there's a great increase in depression, the number of people who are depressed. And actually, you see, they say that depression is pressing down something. And I've heard of many young people, young men, dropping out of school, dropping out of university, dropping out of work, because they are depressed. But what they are looking for is like simple, maybe somebody to talk to them. And then if they go to us, if they're brought to a psychologist or something, what they just do is talk. They just talk and tell. But we don't maybe have to have professional help. If we can provide it for each other, if we can provide it in, yeah.
I think people should learn how to listen to each other.
Yeah.
When you go to a psychologist or psychotherapist, they don't offer you direct advice. They don't push their beliefs onto you.
Yes.
They just listen to you actively.
Yes.
They don't offer their own thoughts and insights onto you. When people talk to each other, they can often feel like they are being forced into somebody else's belief, or they're not heard, because a person is jumping into trying to resolve their problems, jumping in with solutions, jumping in with judgments, instead of just listening to the person.
Yes. And it's a temptation. I think I fall into it myself sometimes, because I want to solve the problem for the person and take them out of their misery. But it's not good, no. Because as you say, all we really need is somebody to listen to us. And as we're speaking, we are understanding ourselves, or we are finding the solution to our problem. And I think it's a great temptation for somebody who is listening to others to try and jump in, and give the answers and solve the problem. And it is a big temptation. But it's true what you say. I know it from my own experience as wanting to speak to somebody. I just need, especially if I want to sort something out or try to understand what's happening inside, you just have to get a time to talk about it. And as we are talking, we begin to understand what we're trying to say. We begin to find the words for it or something. And that is also another problem, that people don't have vocabulary, or they can't. Again, it goes, I suppose, back to family, because if people don't talk in the family, their vocabulary is limited. We don't have vocabulary. We haven't the right words, and so we cannot, even if we want to say something, sometimes we don't know how to put it into words. People often say that. I don't know how to put it into words, they would say. So that requires a lot of patience. And sometimes people can do it with art or music or something. It's another way. But the young people, I think they just need, as you say, somebody will listen to them. Yeah.
I had a close connection with a boy who couldn't name his feelings.
Yes.
I think he just didn't have enough words to give the names to what's inside of him. Yes.
And I find myself that I like journaling. I like writing, just for myself. And I think it's a great help for helping self-expression. And also, I notice, like, if I want to express something, I will try to find the right word. The lack of vocabulary. I think our teacher, when we were in school, our English teacher, she used to say that people who use swear words, a lot of swear words, it's because there is no vocabulary. She used to say, if she heard us saying something, well, we were girls, so we didn't use swear words very much, but we might use some word that was just inadequate or something, and she'd say, this is a lack of vocabulary, she'd say. Your vocabulary is very limited, Can you not increase it? Can you not improve your vocabulary? And it was a great help, because you had to try and find the right word to express something. And I think that is a marvelous help too, if people can find the right word. And we talk about people having no voice. you know, because they haven't words to express. But I think when people are sitting together, they can understand the body language, you know, a lot. There's a lot of communication in body language when we are focused on somebody and we listen to them. Yeah, you can see.
With expression, I think it's a skill to be developed. You can train it. You
Yes.
can acquire more deeper understanding
Yes.
of what do you feel and find words. It's not something that somebody has and somebody doesn't have.
Yes, yeah. And do you think that because we're in a technological age and we are in a vocabulary to do with technology, that there isn't much education in how to express feelings or...
I think it was always a problem.
Yeah,
People just are afraid to talk about their feelings.
yes,
They are afraid to express what they feel. They are afraid to be vulnerable
yes, yes,
and be taken advantage of.
yes, that's true, that's true. I think it is true. I think it is true that people, it's an innate protection, isn't it? We don't want to put our feelings out there. We don't really, because we're afraid we'll be hurt. And I think boys especially, that because we think, for example, in the young adult world, it's the young man who usually has to ask for the date or be the one that comes up front and, you know, takes the initiative or something. And they're very afraid of being rejected. Yeah, so I think that is also harder for boys. Yes, it's harder. Yeah.
I think it's hard on them, and when they come into relationships, they still have that wall around them, and they don't want to open up to their partners. They don't want to talk about their feelings because they don't have words for it, because they are afraid to be judged, rejected, to be hurt.
Yes.
Maybe
yes.
they have been hurt before.
Yes, yes, yes. I was speaking to somebody lately and she was talking about the walls around herself, you know. And I think people who have been hurt in childhood, they put on a veneer, they put on an image, a mask or something, saying, I have no problems, I am happy, life is good. But if you know them, you can see that the expression is not real. Yeah, that there's something else. And then it takes a long time for some people to take down the wall. I think it's a very good expression, what you're mentioning, this wall, yeah.
Yeah, I think you might remember the facade I was putting out that, oh, everything is gone, now I'm happy, now I'm building everything.
Yes.
But those feelings that you're trying to repress, I think they always come back.
They do, yes.
You cannot run away forever.
You can't, you see. You can't, no. And if they are being, I think this is one of the things that's causing this depression. Depression, they say, is pressing down a side of ourselves that, it could be pressing down a part of ourselves that we don't want to see, or it can be a bad memory, or it can be feelings of loneliness or sadness or anger or what we consider unacceptable feelings, you know. So I think it's a very important part of education for young people to help them, let them be themselves, let them be angry, let them be, like even little children, they must be allowed to be angry if they're angry, you know, so that they learn to express it. And then they gradually learn that you can't be angry all the time, or you can't, you know, gradually. But I think we have to be able to allow people to express emotions when they're young. And if we don't...
Yeah, we paint the emotions as good and bad.
Yes,
and
exactly.
We repress the bad ones, and it's a huge problem.
Yes, it is. And some emotions are considered not feminine, and some emotions, as you said, are considered not masculine enough. So men suppress, like, the feminine side of themselves, if you like, the feelings, the emotions, the love, the care, the affections that they feel maybe, and the woman can suppress other aspects of herself that she doesn't like, you know, like anger or jealousy or whatever it is that women feel that they have to pretend, you know. So Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So this was,
Let's wrap up.
yes, this was a very interesting conversation again, Eva. Thank you very, very much. And for the topic, yes,